Hi everybody, it's Alyce-Kay Ruckelshaus of Threshold of Hineni, and I haven't done a craft table talk in a while, so I'm actually going to do a few today, but I'm going to post them on different days. And I thought that I would do them about lessons that I learned while I was dating. And these are things that could be life lessons for anybody, or they could specifically apply to dating. And we all know somebody who's dating, or we are dating ourselves or something. So I think that those are all applicable to everybody. But what I need to do is I need to make a whole bunch of envelopes. So that's like mindless work, basically. And so I'm going to just be cutting and add stuff. During this video, I'll probably just be cutting things into squares. I have a bunch of paper that I printed for various things, and I had leftovers, and so scraps and stuff go into my Franken papers, but whole pieces I'm going to make into, I saved the ones that I think will fit with other journals that I'm working on right now, but some of these they won't. So so they'll be great for envelopes. And it's always good to have a good stash of envelopes. So anyway, so one of the lessons, I guess, actually, let me just give you some background first on what my experience is here. Bill and I met online, and I had actually been dating online for a few years at that point. I'm trying to think when exactly I started. I think I started dating online in like 2011, and then we met in 2014. So, and in there I had dated quite a few men, one of them for like a year and a half, another one for a few weeks, and I guess one place to start with that, well, okay, first of all, I've had a number of people, like, their daughter or somebody wants to date online and they think that it's really scary. I did a lot of research before I did it, and this was up in Minnesota in the Twin Cities, but I came to the conclusion that you're probably safer dating online than you are dating someone in your church, unless it's somebody that you've known all your life or something. But there's nothing weird about dating online and meeting somebody online. It just gives you a broader group of people, I guess you'd say, to pull from. And there are a lot of advantages. Like for me, being an introvert, it was easier to, not just easier, but I felt, how do I say it? 7 1/4. I felt like I could get to know someone better online first before meeting them in person. And my general rule of thumb became, it didn't start out this way, but it became that I didn't give a man my personal information, like phone number and email address and stuff, until we had been talking on the web, the dating site, for a month. Now I didn't start out that way, but you kind of learn as you go. But so anyway, so so Bill and I met, and we met through Senior People Meet, which is an Our Time website. We were both over 50. He was 73, I was 53 at the time that we met, so that just worked out really well. And we've got our whole story all over the internet if you want to know about our story. I'll try to remember to put a link, but if not, just you can look for it. It's on my, if you scan way down to the bottom of my YouTube channel, you'll see some of them. Some of them, unfortunately, we did on his YouTube channel, some on mine, so they're kind of like back and forth, but there's links to each other. So all right, so that's 7 3/4, so that's going to be 3 1/2. So 3 3/8. 5. Oh dear. 3 and 7 is 3 1/2, and then 3/4, half of that would be 3/8. So half is 4/8. So it's 3 7/8 is going to make it square, I think. That doesn't seem right. No, I want to make it square, not half. Okay, I was doing stuff yesterday with halves. 7 3/4. Anyway, so I thought that the first thing that I would share is that dating is not the same as marriage. And that sounds really, really obvious. But a lot of people think that dating is practice for marriage. In fact, that's kind of what I thought. I mean, not in every way, obviously. But it's what I thought as far as like learning to love unconditionally and stuff. But here's the thing, and I didn't realize this until really late in the game, is that if you love everybody that you date unconditionally, then you can't break up with them. And so you're going to end up marrying a toad. You're just going to marry somebody who's really awful. If that's who you date, you find out that they're awful and you feel like you have to love them unconditionally, and to you, loving somebody unconditionally means that you stay with them. Yeah, no, that's not a good idea. Because when you're dating, you're trying to find the person who's right for you. You're not married to that person yet. And so a lot of things that apply in marriage, like, okay, so for example, for a lot of us women, a hard thing with men is that they don't like to sit and just, have deep talks and everything. Okay, well, if you want to marry somebody like that, there are men out there like that who like to have deep talks. And if that's really, really important to you to be able to have deep talks with your spouse, then you can find someone who's like that. Bill and I have really deep talks all the time, and I really mean all the time. And there are other men, pretty much most of the men that I dated were deep talk type of guys. And, Bill and I have been married we've known each other for 5 years. We've been married for about 4.5 years, and the deep talks have not stopped. It wasn't something that he just did to catch me. 7 5/8. It wasn't something that he did to just catch me. So, it really was how he was. If, however, you're married and you wish that your husband would talk deeply to you, but he doesn't, oh, well, ladies, that's something that you just have to accept. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, this is how marriage is. You have to accept that person the way that they are. And you're going to have to get that need for deep talk met someplace else in a way that is not going to end up being an emotional affair. So probably not with a man, and to me, having those deep talks with my husband is really important, because there's a whole different dimension when you're having a male-female deep talk than there is when I'm talking with my girlfriends. And so that was something that was just really important to me. And if I had said, oh, well, I just have to accept that most men aren't that way, then I would have married some guy who didn't meet that need for me. And either I would have had that need unmet, or I would have had it like partially met by having deep talks with a woman, which I have deep talks with women too. But I don't have deep talks with other men, because my husband satisfies that. I don't need that, and I don't risk getting into like an emotional affair. I would not recommend having deep talks with a man other than your husband, unless it's like as a group or something, because it is really easy to get into an emotional affair. So the other thing was, there were faults that I saw in men that I absolutely did not want in a marriage partner, but I thought that I had to love these guys unconditionally. And so, because that's part of, well, first of all, it's part of being a Christian, and second of all, it's part of, being a wife, so I needed to practice that when I was dating. No. Boy, I got myself into some situations that weren't good because of that kind of thinking. So that's the first thing that I want to share is unconditional love. Yes, there's a certain kind of unconditional love as far as like, friendship love or something like that. We should love everybody unconditionally the way that God loves us unconditionally, which is really hard to do. And we can talk about that another time too, about what that means. But you know what? It doesn't mean that you have to, if you accept somebody, that doesn't mean that you have to marry them. Let's just put it that way. And having the kind of unconditional love that stays in a marriage is a lot different from having an unconditional love that stays in a bad dating relationship, because you're dating to find out if this person is the appropriate person to marry. And it's been really funny because I know that probably to a lot of you that just really sounds like a no-brainer. But when I've mentioned this to people, a lot of times people, women, because I don't really talk about this with men that much, but women usually go, oh wow, I never thought of that. Women who are dating, and they're in that kind of situation where they're thinking, I have to treat this person like I would if I was married to them. It's a completely different thing. You are not married to them. So anyway, so that's what I learned from dating a little bit today. I love you all. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.